looking back through some of your achievements, you were the best all-rounder in 1996, and you, I believe, established national records at all distances at that time. Is it correct that you, in the 100, you broke the 50-mile record on the outward leg and the return leg?
It may well be. I actually didn't know that to be the case, but I quizzed Paul about it this weekend, and he confirmed that I did, apparently, but I didn't know.
Of course, it's
something I wasn't aware of.
You do that sort of thing, you're not aware of it. Speaks volumes.
I just didn't know, but maybe, yeah.
And it's in August 2009, you rode 302 miles, I believe, to win a 12-hour time trial by 18 miles, according to my reading. Now, there's a big sort of gaps in your very, very high levels of performance. I'm really interested to know how you've managed to maintain that very sort of high level of performance over so many years. How have you sort of kept going? Most people just get sort of sick of it, or how have you managed to keep it up?
Well, I've kept cycling through my just love of being out there on a bike. That's how I'll always keep cycling, because I just love cycling. I love being outdoors, and I love travelling and exploring places. And but probably kept my sporting potential through, well, first of all, through cycling continuously through those years, but also not racing continuously through those years. So I've never got sick of the regime of racing or the training, because I always find training, when I do race, I always find it these days especially really demanding, and I don't really enjoy the process of preparing to race or training to race, because it wasn't me that said it, but a friend of mine once said to me, the only trouble with racing is it spoils your cycling, and it's true. You know, you can't cycle while you're racing. You just train your training machine, and it stops you going out for those kind of rides that would normally be the ones that the bread and butter of my cycling, really.
Right.
I'm not cycling for pleasure anymore, and there's no time for it with a busy work schedule and a home life. You haven't got time to fit in those rides you just do for pleasure normally. So for that reason, I don't race that much, really. I don't actually enjoy racing that much. So I just tend to prepare for certain things specifically, and that way I can just compress the racing into a small space of time, and then get out of it while the going's good, and go back to what I really enjoy doing.
Right, so you spend most of your time enjoying yourself.
I spend most of my time just cycling, stopping at cafes, stopping at pubs, mountain bike evenings with friends, and stopping in the pub afterwards, and just stuff, enjoying myself, enjoying every element of cycling, which is what I've always done, really.
Yeah, it certainly enable you to keep going at that level for a heck of a long time. Land's End to John O'Groats on a Moulton bike?
Never done it. I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Really got that somewhere. Someone must have been looking at the bike you were riding at the time and decided it was a Moulton. Because I thought I've not seen any pictures of that at all.
No, I've never ridden a Moulton. I'm aware that John Woodburn, ex-end-to-end record holder, did race a Moulton at one time, right. For Alex Moulton, I think, as a way of publicising his bikes. Mm-hmm. But I've never ridden a Moulton.
Right. Well, that's interesting. That clears that up.
I did have a bike with small wheels once. My very first mountain bike, which I built out of an old winter bike, was converted into a mountain bike by going to 24-inch wheels, and we had a 3-week sort of camping holiday in the Alps in '89 on that bike, and had 24-inch wheels on it. That's as close as I've ever got to riding a Moulton.
Oh, dispelled a myth there then. You still hold the record, the Land's End to John O'Groats record, I believe, on the Recumbent, the fastest human-powered journey. Is that correct?
Yes. It's not an official record, but it is there in the Road Records Association handbook as an unofficial record, and it's still the fastest that anyone's ever cycled it, or by human power. It's 3 hours quicker than Gethin Butler's bicycle record. Yeah.
I looked at some pictures of that, and I sort of thought, how can someone spend, is it about 41 hours?
41 hours, yes.
In what's effectively a moving shoebox, a pointed shoebox. Mentally, how did you deal with just sitting in that little box for all that period of time?
Well, quite easily in a way, because it was very comfortable. It was supremely comfortable, far more comfortable than... It's the only time in my cycling career that I've not suffered with terrible backache, really. Backache's one of my big problems.
That's amazing. I would have expected it to be even very uncomfortable, but it's quite the opposite then.
No, that was the beauty of the whole project, really, is that the bicycle, or the trike, it was a tricycle. It's extremely comfortable, and all the upper body's isolated from any effort, because all the effort's concentrated in your core and your legs, so the upper body's completely relaxed, no problems with upper body whatsoever.
Right.
So that was, there's other elements of it that are very demanding. It's very noisy. It's not like the experience of being out in the open air with the wind in your hair on a bicycle. You're sat in a little tiny carbon Kevlar fairing, which is really very tight. There's no room anywhere, although it doesn't interfere with your normal riding at all. It's a claustrophobic and noisy, but comfort great.
Yeah, that really surprises me. I've got to ask. I know it's a little bit insensitive, but I did look at the pictures and I thought, I think I know the answer, but I want to confirm it. Do you have to stop and go to the toilet, or do you have some sort of arrangement for dealing with that?
Yeah. Well, we came across this whole project really was built upon the idea of cycling quicker than what we could do on a normal bike. After my first end-to-end attempt in 1990, we just thought there was a better way to do it. So the first thing you need to go quicker on a bicycle is any kind of human power is a fairing. You need to be more aerodynamic, and so we then thought of ways of incorporating a fairing on a bike, and we came up with all kinds of ideas. But eventually we got to speak to Mike Burrows, who designed Chris Bourman's 1996 Olympic Lotus frame, and he said that what we needed was one of his bikes, which was actually a trike. I wasn't that keen on using a trike, to be honest, at first, but he assured me that would be the best tool for the job. So we looked at that quite seriously, and we realised that 3 wheels meant we could incorporate a full fairing, a much more complete fairing than we could ever really do with 2 wheels. Because if you've only got 2 wheels, full fairings create problems with wind, potential stability issues, and you've got to get your foot down somehow. So you can't enclose yourself completely in a full fairing if you've got to stop and start at traffic lights and towns and stuff. So a trike seemed to be an obvious solution, really. We might touch upon how that came about maybe later in the talk. I'm not sure, but once we'd enclosed ourselves in a full fairing, that meant that any kind of quick exit was going to be a problem. So we then and obviously going to the toilet's a critical part of long distance racing. You've got to be able to go to the toilet quite regularly and easily. So that was a major problem we could see looming on the horizon once we decided we were using full fairing, was that we had to go to the toilet. So a friend of mine whose wife works at a hospital suggested this kind of medical device that would solve our problems. So there ensued quite a bit of laughing and joking. This whole project was like conceived in the pub really after a few beers, and the amount of things we thought of were crazy, but we did have a lot of fun, coming up with crazy ideas for things. Anyway, we tested this pipe. It was basically just an attachment and a pipe, and I mean, this story's legend now, but this did happen. We the first time we used it, we decided we had to make the pipe as short as possible because we didn't want any pressure building up, which would obviously be uncomfortable. so we decided we'd have this pipe stuck straight out the side of the fairing, and to make it as short as possible. But the first time I tried it, we decided it would be better to do it going downhill and it wouldn't be pedalling. And obviously this thing with the full fairing is very quick downhill. So at some speed downhill, I tried it and the liquid went down the pipe out onto the side of the fairing. But because there's so much wind pressure, it stuck to the fairing and just the wind blew it to the back of the fairing. At which point there was an aperture for the rear wheel, which is enclosed within the fairing and had a disc on it. It had like a paper mash-up, the sort of material you use on an aeroplane, a dope and paper covering over it. So it was basically a disc wheel, and the liquid went back onto that, which was enclosed in the fairing, and just splashed straight off. And the whole fairing was full of atomised liquid, which was extremely unpleasant.
Oh,
so we did have to make a longer pipe then, which went right down the inside of the fairing and came out the back like an exhaust pipe.
So sort of a faired recumbent with a built-in shower.
Yeah, built-in shower, yeah. Warm shower. Golden showers of the worst kind.